Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. As you guys can tell by the title of the video, this is going to be completely different. I am doing a story time on how I found out my son was autistic. And this is something that he's 10 years old. It's been a journey. It's been a roller coaster. It's been crazy. And I do this every single year. April is Autism Awareness Month, and I make it a mission to spread as much as awareness as I can. I always do it through my Instagram stories. That's where I get the most engagement with you guys. So I always put like our little story, our journey, our experience, signs, symptoms, everything. And I'm so open for people to be asking me questions. Like if they have any kind of like just any curiosity to know, I'm there. I will receive you with open arms. I will answer as many questions as I can. I want to change it up this time and bring it onto my YouTube channel. YouTube is a huge platform where it has a potential of reaching millions. I'm sensing that this is going to be a long video. I've tried to record this several times already and I keep getting stuck. I get emotional because it's been a roller coaster. Let me begin by introducing him. His name is Roy Jr. and we all call him Juju. So when Juju was born all the way to like 6 months, I want to say, everything seemed fine. We had no concerns, no questions. Everything looked like it was going good for him. He was hitting every single milestone. He was laughing, playing, you know, typical baby. No más que when he got, I want to say like 7, 8 months old, that's when my husband and I started noticing little things. And we're just questioning, is this a developmental delay? You know, is he just like, we need to give him some time to hit the milestones. I know every baby is different. By the way, this was my first child. I was 20 years old when I had him. We were very, very young and we were unexperienced. We had no idea what we were doing, but we were trying our best. So he was about 7 or 8 months and we would call for him. We'll be like, Junior, come here. Like, you know, try to get him to crawl, get him to do this, get him to do that. And every single time we would call him, he was just not looking at us. He wasn't paying attention to us. He was very distracted with his surroundings. Then there were days that he was just literally sitting in his crib and just laughing at nothing. Like nothing was around him. There was no TV or nothing. He'll just wake up and just start laughing and like looking around like someone's making a face at him or just, I don't know, it's just different. And I'm just like, okay, why is he laughing? Like, no, there's no one making him laugh. Like, what's going on? And, you know, little by little, these little signs kept like repeating themselves. And I got curious and I asked several people that were moms or like my mother-in-law, and you know what people would tell me is, don't worry, you know, all kids are different, they all develop differently, you know, let them grow out of it. That's what they would say. Like, so I was just like, okay, maybe he will. And we would take him on strolls to the park in a stroller. We'll push him in the swing, and he just didn't seem like to be communicating with the environment around him, or even with me. I'll push him and I'll be like, hi, you know, pushing him in the swing. And by this time he was already like 9 months, and I would be pushing him and he's just like swinging like this back and forth with a serious face. And I'm like, okay, there's just like something different about my baby. I just don't know what it is. So it's not that I ignored that, but I kept it in the back of my head, and I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna give him a few more months and we're gonna see what happens. You know, I took him to every single doctor appointment. The doctors weren't telling me anything. So I was like, maybe these people are right. Maybe I just need to let him grow. I want to say it was around 11 months when I started noticing some bigger signs. So that's when he was like crawling and trying to walk, but he couldn't walk. He was a late walker. But when he was crawling or sitting up, he would do this all the time and just flap his hands, like when he was excited. And he'll just like get stiff and just do this. And I'm like, okay, that's just his way of excitement. Like, I get it, you know, but to me, it was still like, I don't know, I've never seen a baby do that. So I was like, he's just hella excited. So I'm just gonna let him slide with that. But then he would hum all the time. He was like this, and then he would He wasn't curious to talk. He wasn't trying to talk. There was no words coming out of his mouth except humming. And, you know, we're like, you know what, by this time he's like, he should be like ma, like according to all the milestone Google pages that I looked up, like baby center. And they were all saying that he should be like ma or da, like certain little things that he was just not reaching. So then he became 1 year old. And at that moment, that's when I had that espina. I'm like, something is definitely wrong. I need to do my research and I need to know what is going on with my son, because he's not walking. He's not trying to walk. He was active, but in a different way that I've never seen babies act. So I was just like, I need to do my research. I need to take it into my own hands. So that's what I did. I was researching on Google, like all the symptoms, the signs that he had, and like every website kept leading to autism. And I'm like, what is autism? I have no idea what this is. And this word keeps coming up. And you know, the more I read, the more scared I got. I honestly was terrified. I'm like, oh my God, like what's going to happen? Like, is there something really wrong with him that I need to like take it to the own hands of someone else, an expert? What do I need to do? And I told my husband, you know what, hon, you know, all these little things that are coming up with him, I think he's autistic. And he's like, oh my God, hon, like, don't say that. We don't know that. Like, how, like, what do we do? And I told him, honestly, I feel like the best thing to do is to take him to some kind of center. I don't know, somewhere where they can help me out. So I took him to his doctor. The doctor sent me a referral out. It was when we lived over there in LA. They sent me to the Harbor Regional Center. I took him there and, you know, we had an assessment which felt for so freaking long. It took, I want to say an hour, but it felt like 5 hours. And by the end of the time, they told me, you know what, we can't really diagnose him because it doesn't work like that. We would have to evaluate him first. So I am going to tell you that your child, there is some kind of developmental delay. We don't want to give you a label or a name for it, but there are some concerns and we do need to start some kind of training with him. When I'm telling you, I left with my heart shattered, just the thought that there could be something wrong with my son. I was crying, like I was just in the car ride. It was the worst car ride of my life. I was just bawling my eyes out and I just couldn't believe that there was just something wrong with my son. All I can think of was my baby's future. Was he going to be able to talk? Was he going to be able to walk? Was he able to function, to have a girlfriend, to socialize, to have friends? Like so many thoughts running through my mind. Like I just couldn't think straight. So then after that, we began early intervention with him, which took up to a whole year. They had a teacher come out to the house and evaluate him once a week. So they would just watch him, play with him, interact with him. They needed to do that to be able to give him the diagnosis. I remind you guys, he is 14, 15 months old. He's very, very little. And, you know, they told me, if it is autism, we cannot give you a diagnosis until he's 3 years old. We want to be accurate with it, which is understandable. And let me tell you that this first year of an early intervention with him, it was one of the toughest years ever, because instead of things getting better, they got worse. I was seeing him like growing up into a toddler. He finally learned how to walk. And when he learned how to walk, that's when things got hectic. He was a runner. Like, he was not scared of anything. He'll just book it. Like, we'll be out anywhere. The minute I would let go of his hand, he'll run. He'll run and he won't come back. And those are little signs that I was noticing. Like, I couldn't let go of his hand. He would just leave me. Even if we're in the middle of the street, I would tell him, you know, like, let's look both ways. You know, he's a toddler. That's understandable. But, you know, he would, I don't know why. He was just running so much. And that was one of the other signs that they would tell me, that if he's autistic, you know, a lot of autistic kids run. And another thing that I started noticing is that when he was walking on his tippy toes. He was flapping his hands even more, and he spun like so much. He would just spin and spin and spin, and we'll tell him to stop. But it's like I said, when we would talk to him, he would have no eye contact with us. He would just ignore us. There was even times that we thought that he was deaf. So we're like, what if instead of something else, like he's just deaf and he can't hear us? And so we had to get a test for that. We ruled it out. His hearing is completely fine. And the reason why this part was very hard is because it wasn't his fault. I couldn't tell him, you're being, you're acting up, you're acting bad, you're being a bad boy. Like, I can't say that to him because it's not even his fault. So the hardest part was taking him in public places or anywhere like around family parties, gatherings of any sort were the hardest. We would go to the grocery store, or I'll go by myself with him, and he's just like screaming and yelling and everybody's staring at me like, control your child. But it's like, you don't get it. Like, I'm not gonna sit there and explain to everybody like he's autistic, We'll walk in the middle of the store or in the middle of the street, he'll just throw himself on the floor and just kick and throw his fist around. And it was so hard. Like, I didn't know how to calm him down. Like, I was frustrated, and not because like I didn't care of people looking at me. I was more frustrated at the fact that I couldn't help him. I'm like, how do I take this away from you? How do I make you not frustrated? How do I like make you happy? Like, what can I do? When it came to family gatherings, I'm not saying that my family wasn't supportive. It's just that they didn't know how to support me. They didn't understand. As much as I didn't understand what was going on, they didn't understand as well. And I had to explain to everybody, the situation. And let's say we were going to family parties. I didn't want to leave my kid out of it. So I took him. The only thing is that I always had to be precautious. Are the gates open? Are the door open? Are they locked? Is there a seal here? Like, is there a way out of it? I literally would inspect every single place that we would take him to. Like, let's say we went to my cousin's house and she was having a party and the 2 side gates were open, obviously, to let the people in, or like the front door was unlocked. Like, I'd be panicking. I'd be like, oh my God, like, no, I can't be here. Or like, no, babe, we're gonna have to be on his tail to make sure that he doesn't run out, because he would. And we literally would be uncomfortable the whole time. I would just be sitting there and like staring at him, or where's he at? Where's he at? And trust me, I'm traumatized to this state. Like, I still am like that with my other children who are not autistic. I'm just like that. Like, I stayed that way. And my husband would always be like, chill, hon, chill, don't worry, He would always calm me down, and obviously that was awesome that I had him by my side through the whole journey, because he did calm me down a lot. Pero I was very paniqueada. I was so panicked. And nobody, like, everybody would look at me like I'm crazy, like, chill, like, oh my God, he's okay. And I'm like, no, you guys just don't understand. The minute that I would be okay and I'll be like, you know what, I'm gonna let him be a kid. Go run, baby. That minute was the minute I would lose him if I wasn't on him. And that was a scary part, because he's 2 years old. He's autistic, running and not scared of anything. He's not scared of cars getting run over. He's not scared of fire. Like, he would get close to a fire and not care because he didn't know any better. And that's like, those are the events that traumatized me. It's just the fact that he didn't know, and I was scared of something happening to him. At the time, honestly, I felt very isolated from everybody. Like, I felt like nobody understood me. I felt judged, because I was very strict. I wouldn't let my son do this, or I wouldn't let him do that. And they'll be like, just let him run. Like, if we went to the beach, just let him. Hell nah. Girl, I cannot let my son, who is autistic, go in the waves. Like, he ain't gonna come back. He's not gonna come back. Like, they weren't understanding them. And that's why I felt judged. Is people just kept telling me, let him do it, let him do it, let him do it. But I couldn't. And then when he was 2 years old, I think that's when things started to look up a little bit. He wasn't just ignoring things, like things weren't going in one ear and going out the other. He was actually learning stuff. Like, we would tell him, stop, and he'll stop. Like that, he was comprehending stuff. And I'm like, okay, that's a good sign. That means I'm able to communicate with him. Before, I wasn't able to. Like, I'll tell him, do this, do that, or come here. Like, I would keep it very simple, but it's just nothing was getting through. And now I was understanding that there was a whole language that I can communicate with him, just short words. There's even a point that I learned a little bit of sign language, like easy words for him. So that's when we changed our parenting skills. We stopped teaching him how to communicate with us. We learned how to communicate with him. Everything changed. I was using whatever gestures that he could communicate with me, I would learn them. So if he did this, that means he wanted more. And I'm like, okay, got you. Like, little by little, those were little signs that how I was able to communicate with him, or like he'll point to everything, or he'll take me by the shirt or by my pants and he'll literally take me to whatever he wants. And I'm like, okay, whatever, like let's do this, whatever you want, this is the way we're gonna communicate. And every time he did something repetitive, like I would just say it. So every time he'll be like this, I'll be like, you want more? You want more? And he'll be like, I was like, oh my God, he's actually doing this. He's communicating with me. It brought me so much joy because I seen that he was improving. So like I said, the early intervention was for a whole year. He couldn't get a diagnosis or start ABA therapy until he was 3 years old. But I was very, very, very pushy. I pushed the program and I told him, you know what? I already accepted and I know my son is autistic. He shows every single sign in the book. I'm not ignorant to it. I want to hurry up, get him the diagnosis, not just to give him a label. I don't want that. What I want is the help. So we started the meetings with the psychologist and she was able to get us the diagnosis before he was 3 years old. We were able to start the program immediately. So let's fast forward to 4 years old, because the whole time when he was 3 years old, like it was just kind of the same. Nothing was getting better. Like he got a little better, but then he just stood stuck. And we were like, oh my God, like what now? How do we get him unstuck? Like what do we do? And the teachers just kept reminding me, like, remember, you know, it's gonna take baby steps. I know he probably improved the last months, but you gotta give him time. Then I want to say around 4.5 to 5 years old, that's when he actually started talking. Like he would say like small little sentences. I think there were like 4 or 5 word sentences. We were able to communicate with him a lot more. He was just honestly like very smart in a different way. I didn't know how to explain it, but he just knew so much, or he knew big words that I'm like, how did you learn that? But he just, the aspects that he lacked were verbal communication and social skills. So that was one thing that we noted when he was a little bit older, were that he didn't know how to make friends. He didn't know how to talk to other kids. So it was just like different. He was very good when talking to adults. Like adults loved him because, you know, he was always smiling, very social with them. And he tried to make friends like in the playground and stuff, but for some reason, like kids just, they didn't want to be like play with him. And I'm just like, oh my God, like why do you guys not want to play with him? How sad, you know? We come to learn that he was just like, he just didn't know how to make friends, or he didn't know how to engage with other kids in the proper manner. Like he was just always up in their faces, like all antsy and stuff. And we had to teach him like, hey, this is the way that you know, befriend somebody. You know, you just gotta chill out. And we explained to him, like, you know, be like, hi, do you want to be my friend? Do you want to play? You know, instead of being all jumpy and antsy around him. So that was another sign that we noticed as he got older, is that his social skills were lacking. And little by little, we started decreasing the hours of ABA therapy. They did tell me that we are gonna decrease them because once he turns to the 4th year of receiving the ABA therapy, he is able to graduate if he no longer needs it. But if he does need it, of course, he can always have like 1 hour a day or 1 hour a week, whatever my choice was. And that last year was honestly bittersweet. He had a little bit of hours. I started noticing that I did not need anyone to come do him ABA anymore. Like he did not need it. And that was when they told me, okay, you know what? I think it's time to let go. He is not in need of therapy. I think it's safe to say that he's good. So at that point, I was literally getting flashbacks left and right, like of everything my husband and I have been through with Juju. Like he overcame something so incredible. Like this journey was crazy and wild and hectic and sometimes lonely, and it was just a long journey, and I could not believe that it was coming to an end. And then came the day that he graduated, which was one of the happiest days of our lives. Like we were just such proud parents, and that was just his day to spread his wings and fly and be like, you know what, I do not need help anymore, I got this. And that was 4 years ago. He is now 10. He is striving. He has good grades. He's always in honor roll, in principal's list, in general school, not special education, general school. And honestly, things wouldn't have been this good without the ABA therapy. They helped him and I so much. They taught him not only math or English or all those kind of skills, but they showed him how to be independent, how to change his clothes, how to go to the bathroom. They taught me how to communicate with him. I learned through them, watching them, how to communicate with my son. So that itself was amazing. Oh shit, oh my god. But this is why I make it a mission to speak about this every single year, to bring awareness to people, because it is life-changing. Yes, autism is scary. Yes, there is no cure, but there is help. There's therapies. There's this whole support system that you have no idea exists. You just gotta look for it. Please do not ignore the signs. If you have the slightest gut feeling that your child is autistic, take them to go get evaluated. Trust me, they will give you all the help you need. Well, amigas, we have come down to the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this story time. Please help me share and spread awareness of autism. You could just mention it in your stories. You could just bring it up, put a little post on your Instagram, or even share this video if you like. But that is it. That is all I have for you guys today. Do not forget to give this video a big thumbs up, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye!
I will always love you how I do. I let go of a prayer for you. It's a sweet world. The table is prepared for you.